So my first question to you is, how do you respond to the new nickname, the Great Ivan?
I haven't heard that nickname, but thank you. I usually get Ivan the Terrible.
How much cooperation did you have from the NFL in making this very fine film?
Oh, thank you. We were very lucky. They liked the script. Really right from the beginning, they responded. Our work with them really had to do with accuracy and making sure that we didn't push the envelope in any way. And we went through various departments at the NFL. And I don't think the movie could have been made. It was really a factor even in the green light of the movie that they were going to be involved. And it took a lot of time because they have a lot of promotion partners. They had to vet it for accuracy, as I was saying earlier. But they went with it, and they were very, very helpful.
And you picked the teams, or they picked teams, like the Kansas City Chiefs?
No, we picked the teams, but they were helpful in terms of each team had to agree themselves.
Oh.
And some teams came off better than others in the screenplay. And one of the things that the teams had to realize is that it was a work of fiction. We weren't really trying to reflect on how they drafted or anything else. Really the important team was the Cleveland Browns, and as you may have heard, it was originally the Buffalo Bills when it was written. One of our screenwriters is from Cleveland, and he was afraid to write it about his home team. And both the Browns and the Bills, if you follow football at all, have had a relatively unfortunate history, football history, and also they're kind of rust-built East Coast towns with great fans and with with a kind of an industrial past that has seen greater glory at another time, and their sports team was very important to them. So each city worked really well. What it turned out was a financial question. We scouted both places, met with both organizations. Both of them wanted us, and finally it was $2 or $3 million less expensive to shoot in Ohio than in New York State, and because of certain sort of state givebacks and other kinds of union rules. So we just had to choose the less expensive.
What's your favorite team?
My personal?
Yeah, your
it's
personal
actually
team.
Seattle. I say that before they won. It's because I actually know John Nordstrom. I live in Montecito, California, and John Nordstrom of Nordstrom's was one of the original owners, and he's a good friend of mine. And he indoctrinated me.
Was there anything you wanted to do that the NFL was kind of iffy on and told you not to do, or that you had to really negotiate with them?
No, there was 2 or 3 bits of language that they said, we'd appreciate it if you didn't use that word right over here. And they understood that it had to be. Sometimes people speak in a relatively salty way, both in the heat of negotiation and what goes on in locker rooms and things like that. So they weren't trying to whitewash it. They were just, particularly when coaches were speaking to other coaches, that sort of thing. There was some concern. I'm trying to think. There was really nothing in the storytelling that happened.
Your thoughts about Arian Foster?
Sorry, I was getting right to you. Yeah.
Your thoughts about Arian Foster and the job he's doing, still being a playing NFL running back?
Well, I'm not going to talk about him professionally as a football player. I don't think that's my expertise. But I'll just say, we were looking for guys who looked like football players to play the potential recruits that were coming from college. And I received on a stack of sort of tapes, there was Arian Foster. I said, "Is this the Arian Foster?" And the casting director said, "Yeah, we'll take a look at it." And it was really good. And of course, he looks right. And especially, he normally plays with a beard on, but we shaved it all off. And he looks exactly like a college senior would look. And the ironic thing about Foster, when we were shooting at Radio City and we were on the red carpet and we were coming in and doing all this stuff, and we were shooting during the actual draft, and with real people, everything else. And he turned to me and he said, you know, I never got to do the draft. He was undrafted, and he got picked up later on as being part of the sort of practice squad. He just fought his way on the team. So, yeah.
Since you're winning a long-time achievement award, could you reflect on the 30-year history of Hollywood that you've seen how things changed over the years?
Things did change, you know, quite a bit from when I started. My career really goes back a good 40 years plus. I just look really young. And I was lucky. I got to direct movies in the sort of contemporary golden age of Hollywood, which was probably the 80s, and where we were directors and creative people were well compensated. And we were well compensated because really the home video market expanded the sort of income for the studios, so they were being relatively generous. And it seemed to be easier to get movies made. And I was very lucky because I had this wonderful run at the beginning of my career, really starting with Animal House. I had about 10 or 11 really big time hits in a row, and so it was nice.
Ivan, this is for Robin Leach, Vegas Deluxe. Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Would you film in Nevada as our film commission widens tax incentives for the studios?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Nevada is really an extraordinary state because its topography is so interesting, frankly, and this town itself, Las Vegas, is just unlike anything else in the world. My good friend Todd Phillips, did the three Hangover. I mean, at least started the Hangover movies here. We were going to produce the Hangover movie with him, and because of the technicality of the studio, we were not able to do it, which is unfortunate because it was such a big hit. But I thought I could see from him and speaking to him that the city was very, very generous in terms of accessibility and allowing, and I think it really made a big difference in that film. It really felt real.
You're so busy as a producer now. What does it take to get you to direct something?
I actually want to direct more. I don't know if it's about getting older or watching my son do so well. It's way more fun to direct. And you may have read that I decided to forego directing Ghostbusters 3, which we all hope to get made. And I will produce it. That was too hard. And really coming off of, it was Harold's death, Bill Murray's sort of reluctance to be part of it, the sense that, well, I had done two of them already that I was quite proud of, and I was really playing with fire to actually try directing a third one. And it was a combination of all those things. And I had just come back from Harold's funeral, and I met with the studio, and I said, I'd really like to produce this. I think we can find a really good director to do this. And the most important thing was coming off of draft day, however it may end up doing when it opens 3 weeks from now. I was really proud of it. I loved doing something that was more dramatic, that was really more performance-based and smaller. And I thought, well, that would be a better thing for me to do with my time at this point in my career.
We
And
just
for
heard
everything
from
One more,
the
guys, one more.
Sprite- We just heard from the Sprite Film Students Project, guys. Several of them mentioned that you were their mentor at the best part of the week for them.
Oh, that's nice.
What do you feel you helped pass along to them?
I just try to be realistic with them and really try to inspire them not only to work hard, but to be aggressive with their lives and to do things that were not ordinary. That for them to pay attention to their stories, and that if they felt that they'd seen sequences in their story or their entire story before, that it might be a good idea for them to sort of look harder and try harder and do something original, find their voices.
And after everything you've done, are there any mountains left for you to climb that you feel like, or a genre you want to tackle?
I feel really hungry. I just want to do good work and try to find great stories that I can tell. So I'm not bored. I can tell you that.
All right, guys.
This lady just had me trying to ask a question for 10 minutes.
I those people in our house, but I'm wondering if you could say a word about what he meant, because he was such an extraordinary talent, very, very.
Well, he had an extraordinary influence on my career.
We're talking about
Harold.
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis, you know. Harold and I worked on 5 movies together and a stage show. I met Harold at a show called the National Lampoon Show, which I produced off-Broadway. And this is before Saturday Night Live, before Second City. It brought Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, John Belushi, Brian Dole Murray, Joe Flaherty together ever. And they were this extraordinary group, and he was, as an actor, as strong as any of them. And most of all, he was this wonderful leader and writer. And he helped me, well, certainly we worked on Animal House, then Meatball, Stripes, the 2 Ghostbusters movies. And he wanted to direct himself, and I encouraged him to go forward and direct. And I thought he would do a good job. And he certainly did, with a whole bunch of films, the best of which I thought was Groundhog Day. It was a shock. We were working together on the 3rd Ghostbusters starting about 4 years ago, and he got really sick. And I thought he was just going to get better after a month, and he just didn't. And I was really going to visit him just 2 months ago, and his wife called me up and said, you know, I don't think you should come right now. And that's when I learned that things really took a turn for the worse. So, anyway, I miss him. Lovely to talk
Thank
to
you.
all of you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.